Shalom Israel. First, I want to give a call law to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Pamadak Yahushua. I want to give a mighty shalom to all the mighty men that's going out there laboring on the highways and byways, making their bodies a living sacrifice, and doing all things for the elect's sake, and during the rains, the 100-degree weathers, the freezing below codes, and everything that's trying to hinder the work of the Lord. I want to give another strong shalom to the mighty Akwaf, the sisters that are at home, reverencing their husbands, being teachers of good things, tender, delicate, and on fire for the Lord. And last but not least, I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty children and teenagers that are at home doing all they can to make their calling and election sure in the last days. Right, and the topic of this video is, right, an in-depth Genesis chapter 1 breakdown and how everything was really created. Right, that's the topic of this video. How everything really created. How is everything made? How is the world made? The heavens. Because prior to us coming into the truth, we had a misconception of how everything was made. You had certain men, they believed that nothing came from something, or something came from nothing, right? The so-called Big Bang Theory. Other men, they believed the world just popped up like that. One mysterious day, in the cool of the night, the earth popped up like that. Or it's this one video I seen when I was a kid, right? They said how the earth was made is by the moon. It was madness. The moon crashed into some other moon, and then it made the earth. That's not how everything was made. We have to come out of the ways and the lies of Esau, the so-called white man, and come back to the knowledge and the wisdom of the Most High. The Lord lets you know how everything was created. It might not be plain upon tables, but the Lord has a whole chapter of how he created everything. You have to be willing to go through the precepts and break these things down. Right, let me go to 2nd Ezra chapter 14 first. Right, 2nd Ezra chapter 14. And your pastor, we being honest, your pastor is not breaking down Genesis the first chapter. I have never seen a pastor, right? I used to go to church, man, every Sunday, so-called faithfully. And my mom used to make me go. I have never seen a pastor, a preacher, etc., or these top men break down Genesis the first chapter. Why? Because they don't know. This is a secret. Things are not always plain upon tables in the scriptures. The Lord hides certain things from man, and he declares certain things and reveals his secrets to his servants, the prophets. That's Amos 3 and 7. So we got to figure these things out. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 14. And Moses wrote the book of Genesis. Right, you got men saying, well, how did Moses write Genesis? He wasn't alive until Exodus. We finna find out. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 14. Right? 2nd Ezra chapter 14 and verse number 1. It reads, 2nd Ezra 14 and 1. And it came to pass, upon the third day, I sat under an oak, and behold, there came a voice out of a bush over against me, and said, Esdras, Esdras. And so this is Ezra going into an end-up account of how the Lord appeared to him. It says, verse 2, and I said, here am I, Lord. And I stood up upon my feet. Then said he unto me, in the bush, I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses and talk with him when my people served in Egypt. So the Lord is telling Ezra, I talked to Moses when he was in Egypt. Verse 4, and I sent him and led my people out of Egypt and brought him up to the Mount of Sinai, where I held him by me a long season. See that? So when Moses was in the Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights, the Moses wasn't just getting the 10 Commandments. Moses received secrets, mysteries. You're finna read that. It says, and I sent him and led my people out of Egypt and brought him up to the Mount of Sinai, where I held him by me a long season, and told him many wondrous things, and shewed him the secrets of the times and the end, and commanded him, saying, so Moses knew about the end of the world, the beginning of the world, the end of times. It says, and commanded him, saying, these words shalt thou declare, and these shalt thou hide. So certain things in Genesis, they're playing upon table to the wise. Other things in Genesis, the Lord Moses hid them. Moses didn't make Genesis 1, 2, right, 3. Even in 4th chapter, the Moses didn't make those chapters easy to be understood. But the Lord in the last days has given his servants the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to break these things down. Right, so without further ado, we're going to go into it. All right, let's go to Genesis. All right, let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 1, and verse number 1. All right, let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 1, and verse number 1. Genesis 1 and 1. It says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, within its first verse, it's a mystery in itself. The Lord said, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, who is this God? We got to go into these words. Now, when it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, the truth about this mystery is that God is not talking about the Most High God. Most High God got off his throne, then he started creating the heavens and the earth. No, what it's talking about, this God, is talking about Yahweh Shai and the angels. Right? Let's get a precept. Let's go to Genesis, the 1st chapter. And somebody asked me this on the highways and byways. They said, well, if God created the heaven and the earth, why did it say in the same chapter, let us make man in our image? Like it was more than one person. That's the thing. It was more than one person or being that created everything that you see and you cannot see, which is Yahweh Shai and the angels. Let's go to Genesis 1 and 29. It's like here, Genesis 1 and 26. Right? It's the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and 26. And God said, let us make man in our image. Now, if this God is a singular person or a being, why is it saying let us like it's more than one person? If I say me and somebody's with me, if I say us, we're going to the gas station, it can't just be me by itself. No, this is how you know more than one people were there during the creation. It's going into Yahweh Shai and the angels. All this word God means is power. Right? That's literally all God means. And the Lord said there be God minis and Lord minis. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. Right? Let's go to the book 1 Corinthians. Chapter 8. Right? 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse number 5. 1 Corinthians 8 and 5. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many and lords many. See that? So as many people, many things are called God. The children of Israel, we're gods. That's Psalms 82 and 6. It's lords many. The Lord said all the gods of the other nations are what? Idols. So that word God, it just means power. Or Allah in the Hebrew. Now, when you have the gods with an S, it just means Elohim. Let's go to Psalms 82 and 6. Right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 82, and verse number 6. Psalms 82 and 6. It reads, I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. But ye shall die like men, and fall like one of the princes. See that? So the Lord called the children of Israel what? Gods. We're gods. We're gods upon the earth. Now that doesn't mean we're the Most High God and we observe authority over the Most High. But all of that's saying is we have some type of power. Now we could go to that word in the Hebrew as well. Alright, so like I'm finna put it up real fast. But let's go to that word God in the Hebrew on the blue letter Bible. Right? So you had this in a Strong's H 430 Elohim, right?
Strong's H 430 entry 1 Eloah.
Right? He said Eloah, but it's really going into Elohim. See that?
Elohim. And the third entry.
Alright, that's it on that. But it literally means what? The word God literally means rulers, judges, powers, right? What else? Angels, gods, the divine ones. That's all the word God means. So when you see that word God in Genesis, the first chapter, the first verse, it's not talking about the Most High God himself, right? The word God has multiple meanings. So it just means gods, rulers, angels, judges, divine ones. So when you read Genesis 1 and 1, that God that it's talking about is Yahweh Shai and the angels. Those are the gods, right? Let's go to the book of Colossians, the classic, chapter 1 and 15. How do we know this? Because Yahweh Shai, Jesus, or also known as Jesus Christ, he created everything that you see and you cannot see. Now, if the Lord created everything that you can see and you can't see, how did the Most High create everything? That would literally be a contradiction. But Yahweh Shai created things that you can see and you cannot see. Let's go to Colossians, right? Chapter 1. Colossians chapter 1 and verse number 15. I'm going to start at verse 13. Because Colossians 1 and 13, it says, who have delivered us from the power of darkness and have translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins. It's letting you know that it's talking about Yahweh Shai. Verse 15, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature. And Yahweh Shai, he's the firstborn of every creature. He's the first spirit to ever be created before man, angels, beasts, and the world was even made. It says, for by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in the earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. So everything was created by Yahweh Shai and for Yahweh Shai. But for the lack of better terms, the Most High gave Yahweh Shai the blueprint when he created him. Because even Yahweh Shai, he has a creation. Yahweh Shai didn't just pop up out of nowhere. No, the Most High. That was the Most High's first and only creation. Everything else Yahweh Shai created. So Yahweh Shai, even he has a creation when he was brought forth. Yes, Yahweh Shai, or Jesus, what people know as Jesus Christ. People hear Jesus Christ got a creation. Whoa. No, you're going off. That's off. These Christians, they lose their mind. Why? Because they can't understand the Bible. Let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Revelation. Let's go to Revelation. Chapter 3. I'm on Revelation chapter 3. Right, Revelation chapter 3 and verse number 14. Revelation chapter 3 and 14. And unto the angel of the church of the Laodiceans write, these things said the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of God. So Yahweh Shai, he's ultimately the Most High's first and only creation. Everything else, the Most High gave Yahweh Shai the blueprint to execute, to create everything you can and you cannot see. And in second address, it actually gives you an in-depth account. Let's go to second Esdras chapter 6. So when you read Genesis, the first chapter, it links up directly with second Esdras, the sixth chapter, and gives an in-depth account. Right, it's second Esdras chapter 6, verse number 1. Right, second Esdras chapter 6 and verse number 1. It reads, and he said unto me, in the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightened, or ever the foundations of paradise were laid. So when you read second Esdras, the sixth chapter, it's going into chiefly before everything was created. It says, verse 3, second Esdras 6 and 3, before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys in Zion were hot, and the air of the present years were sought out, and or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned before they were sealed. Before they were sealed. So even before the 144,000, the elect men of the Most High, before all of this, is going into literally before the world began. When you read on, it says, that have gathered faith for a treasure. Verse 6, then I considered these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also shall be ended, and by none other. So the Lord said, these things were created by me, and also these things shall end by me as well. So, that's plain. But these people, they can't understand it. So second Esdras, the sixth chapter, links up directly with Genesis, the first chapter. Let's get another precept on Yahweh Shai and the angels creating everything. Let's go to Psalms chapter 33. Psalms chapter 33. Right? Psalms chapter 33 and 6. It says, by the word of the Lord were the heavens made. Now, who is the word of the Lord? We all know this. The word of the Lord is Yahweh Shai. That's John 1 and 1. And in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God. Right? Let's go to that actually. Because let's actually get deep on that. And John 1 and 1. John chapter 1 and verse number 1. It says, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God. So Yahweh Shai was actually with the Most High in the third heaven before everything was created. And it describes a connection that the Lord had with Yahweh Shai when he was up there, when you read John, the 17th chapter. So this thing gets deep. You can't just read. You see how somebody could just read over that verse and not even know it's actually more that go into that verse than what people think it is. So Yahweh Shai and the angels created everything you see and you cannot see. Let's go back to Psalms. Right, chapter 33. Psalms chapter 33 and verse number 6. Right? It says, by the word of the Lord were the heavens made, and all the hosts of them. by the breath of his mouth. And that's plain, right? That's plain. So let's go back to Genesis, the first chapter, right? Genesis chapter 1 and verse number 1. Right? Genesis chapter 1 and 1 again. In the beginning, God, right, or the Elohim, created the heaven and the earth. So Yahweh Shai and the angels, they created the heaven and earth. Verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Meaning the earth wasn't put together yet. That's what it's going into. The earth wasn't put together yet when it was created. It says, and void and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Meaning it wasn't light created as well. People think it was just light there. And that's how you know that Esau, he don't know what he's talking about. He said he believes in a Big Bang theory. Well, right now, the Lord just said it was darkness upon the face of the great deep. And if a Big Bang theory comes from so-called light, it's just confusion. We got to come out of the ways of this man's system. Because his understanding is totally off. Then he said millions of years later, that's when certain things start to come about. Hey, where is that at in the scriptures? Hey, you got to show me that. So we got to stop. We got to take out everything that the so-called white man has taught us and ball it up in a piece of paper and shoot it in a trash can. I'm gonna actually see if I get a I'm gonna see if I get a picture of that, of the so-called Big Bang theory that Esau has. Right? I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. The Big Bang theory. Here we go. It's madness. Alright, so this is what Esau basically believes. I'm gonna pull this one up. Right? This is what Esau believes. Let's see if I get a better one. Okay. Yeah, that's what the so-called white man, but this is how he believed the earth was made. Right? It says, I'm gonna see if I can zoom in. It says first, this is wickedness. It says, yeah, this is how Esau, this is what he thinks how the earth was created. Where is this at in the Bible? The Big Bang theory. It says the cosmos goes through a super fast inflation, expanding from the size of an atom that a grapefruit in a tiny fraction of a second. Yeah. Where is a cosmos in the Bible? Right? Or a super flash reaction. What is basically the Big Bang theory, if you don't know in a nutshell? Esau believes that some spark just happened and then I created everything that you see in the universe. That's like me just starting a microwave and I just put nothing in it and I start it for 30 seconds. And then I come back and it's a bowl of mac and cheese. That's literally lewdness. That's absurd. That's not even wise. That's not smart. That's not intelligent. So, Esau, that's madness, man. We're going to read this again. Genesis 1 and 2. It says, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Now, what does it mean when the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters? That means what? When it started to move, Yahweh Shai and the angels they got a direct decree to start creating. That's what it means by when it moved. That don't mean that they was playing red light, green light, and they was stopping and going and moving. No, they started to create things. They started to put things together. And King Solomon, he knew about that. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11. Right? And King Solomon, he knew about that. Like it. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11. I believe I'm on verse 17. Right? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11. Let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11, and I want verse number 17. It reads, "For the almighty hand that made the world of matter without form wanted not means to send among them a multitude of bears or fierce lions." So for the lack of better terms, it just had the elements there and things wasn't stirred up yet. That's what it means with it was without form and without void. Then the Lord, he moved upon it and he started pulling those elements together to make what you can and what you cannot see. So going back to Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 3, right? Genesis 1 and 3, it says, "And God said, let there be light, and there was light." Now, this light that it's talking about is not talking about the sun and the moon, because the sun and the moon wasn't created to the fourth day. So people, they like to go here and say, see that? Or they might say, the light is the wisdom. No, the light is not the wisdom. Yahushua and the angels and the Most High, they already had wisdom before they started creating certain things. This light that it's talking about is going into the light that make everything appear so what you can see. Because again, in verse 2 it just said, "And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep." So you got to imagine yourself putting a Lego piece together. Let's say you turn all the lights out in your house, and you just start building in the dark. Then you cut on that light. Now you see what you have made. You can't see it in the dark. So that is that light that it's talking about. It's not talking about the commandments. It's not talking about the wisdom. It's not talking about the sun and the moon. Again, the sun and the moon wasn't created for the fourth day. Let's get that real fast. This is Genesis chapter 1 and verse number 14. Genesis 1 and 14. "And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also." And when you jump down to verse 19, it literally says it was the fourth day. So that light that is the light that is talking about in Genesis 1 and 3, that's not talking about the sun and the moon. That wasn't created to the fourth day. This light is talking about the light to make the works of the Lord appear. Let's go to the book. See what I want. Let's go to the book, 2 Corinthians, chapter 4. All right. Let's go to the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 4. It's the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 4, and verse number 6. 2 Corinthians 4 and 6. It says, "For God, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness." And that's what happened. The Lord, in Genesis, the first chapter, he commanded light to form out of darkness. He took the light out of the darkness. We just read that everything was dark. It was darkness upon the face of the deep. And the Lord made a light appear so you could see his works. That's what it's going into. It says, "Have shine in our hearts to give the light of knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ." Let's go to 2 Ezra chapter 6. Right. Let's go to the book of 2 Ezra chapter 6. Second Ezra chapter 6 at verse number 38. Second Ezra 6 and 38. It says, "And I said, O Lord, thou spakest from the beginning of the creation, even the first day, and said, Let heaven and earth be made, and thy word was a perfect work. And then the spirit and darkness and silence were on every side. The sound of man's voice was not yet formed." Like I said, Second Ezra, the 6th chapter, literally links up with Genesis, the 1st chapter. It goes hand in hand. It's like linking verbs. Verse 40, "Then commandest thou a fair light to come forth of thy treasures, that thy work might appear." So the Lord commanded a light to appear so that his work could be made manifest. Because again, like I said, if you doing Legos and you're building Legos and the whole room is dark, you can't see what you have made. It literally would be impossible. If it's the blinds are closed, the room door is closed, no lights are on, it will be literally impossible to see what you have created. That's why the Lord, he made a light appear so you can see his works. Right? My brother said the light is Christ. But brother, I don't see how the light could be Christ when Christ was here before the world began. For the brother that said that. So that's why I say you gotta go to the precept, because Yahushua was here with the Most High before the world was even created. So high as he could be that light in Genesis, the 1st chapter. I mean, that would be literally impossible. But this Genesis chapter 1 and verse 3 again, it says, "And God said, Let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day." And that literally happened. The Lord divided the light literally from the darkness. And he called it night and day. That literally happened. But on another level, on another fold, the Lord is separating the children from the light from the children of the day. So Genesis is deep, man. Like I said, Genesis is not a book that you could just pick up the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th chapter. Even the 49th chapter is a mystery. You have different mysteries in Genesis. You can't pick this up and just understand it off the bat. No, these things are written in secrets. So reading on verse 6. Genesis chapter 1 and verse number 6. "And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." So you will literally have a firmament that the Most High created to divide the waters from the waters. Verse 7, "And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so." And Esau, he's not bringing out that it's actually waters above the firmament. People don't know that. You ask them, well, is waters above the firmament? Why isn't the water pressure pushing down on us then? They don't understand. The Lord made the firmament, and he has waters above the firmaments, and it's actually waters below the firmament, which will be the seas and your oceans that you see right now. I'm gonna see if I could pull up a picture of that real fast. At a firmament. Let me see if this is better. No, it's not a good one. Alright, here we go. This is a somewhat decent picture of it. Right? This is a decent picture of it. Now, you had a great deep, which we're going to go into. You had the waters above the firmaments. Literally, you have waters that's above the firmament. That's what the Lord is talking about. You have actual waters that's above it. That's what also, when you go into the ark, in the ark and a flood, that's what really helped the flood. You had waters from above, which is the fountains of the great deep. It broke up from the ground underneath. The waters from underground came up, and you had the waters from above. The windows of heaven opened, and water came from above. But let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 146, to prove that his waters above the heavens, but the firmament. Let's go to Psalms, chapter 146, right? Psalms chapter 146 and verse Salaki, that might be Psalms chapter 148, right? Salaki. Psalms 148 and verse number 4. It says, praise him, ye heavens of heavens, and ye waters that be above the heavens. See, that's so the Lord has waters above the heavens. And you know you can't go up there and try to swim in that water. No, you can't even get out of the firmament. The Lord has those waters, which will also be known as the second heaven, above the firmament. You have waters above the firmament. That's why it says, ye waters that be above the heavens. Let's go to the book of Psalms of the three holy children and the Apocrypha. Right? Let's go to the book of Psalms of the three holy children. I believe I'm on verse 32. Psalms of the three holy children. Verse 37. Slaki. Right, it's the book of Songs of the three holy children and the Apocrypha. Verse 37. It says, O all ye waters that be above the heaven, praise ye the Lord, praise and exalt him above all forever. So that's two witnesses. You have waters that's actually above the heavens that the Lord has created. Let's go to Job chapter 38. It's like in Job chapter 37. And like I said, when you had the flood happen, when you read Genesis the 7th chapter, what really helped the flood is you had those waters from above the heavens. And you had waters come up from under the earth. That's why we just brought up that picture. The fountain of the great deep was broken up. And Esau don't tell you that. Esau don't tell you that you have waters above the heavens. I never learned that in so-called, science class. I never learned that it was waters underneath the heavens, man. And underneath the earth. I never knew that it was a firmament to separate and divide those waters. So, Esau is finished. The lies are being exposed. We're going into what truly happened. Let's go to Job chapter 37. Right, Job chapter 37 and verse 18. Right, Job chapter 37 and verse number 18. Job 37 and 18, it reads, it says, have the gates of death been opened unto thee, or have thou seen the doors of the shadow of death? It's like in Job 37 and 18. Job chapter 37 and verse 18, it reads, how hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molten looking glass? And that molten looking glass is talking about the firmament of the heavens, man. It's not talking about your glass window. No, that's talking about the firmament. So it's like a molten looking glass. That's another name that the Lord called it when you read Job 37 and 18. So you have the waters above the firmament, and you also have waters underneath the earth. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 1. Right? Genesis chapter 1 in verse number 7. It says, and God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which was above the firmament. And it was so. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 6. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse number 38. It's 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse, I'm going to start at verse 41. 2nd Ezra 6 and 41. It says, upon the second day thou madest the spirit of the firmament and commanded it to depart asunder and to make a division betwixt the waters, that one part might go up and the other remain beneath. And that's righteous, man. When you think about it, that's beautiful. The Lord commanded the firmament to be able to divide the waters from above and the waters from below. And those are the works of the Lord. That's why we just read in the songs, the three holy children, is literally praising the works of the Lord, praising the Lord. And that's beautiful. Like I said, you got Jake. He want to get into the Big Bang Theory. And he want to talk about the different stages of what created the earth. That's not biblical at all. And it's not even backed up by some type of intelligence. So, this is why we got to go into this thing, man. Let's go back to Genesis. Right? Let's go back to Genesis chapter 1. Right? Actually, let me get another precept. Let's get a precept on there being waters underneath the earth. Right? And I'm going to pull up the picture again. Right? For the brothers and sisters tuning in. This is what it was this is what the creation is somewhat being described like in Genesis, the 1st chapter. Right? For the brothers and sisters can see it. You had the waters above the firmament, the sky, the windows and doors of heaven. And underneath it, you had the seas. And underneath it, you have something called the great deep. Now, what is the great deep? Is that where the launch snatch monster resides? And Esau got some type of weird creatures down there? No. The great deep is the waters that's really underneath the earth. And it gets deep, so deep down there, Esau hasn't explored what's really all the way down there. Because Esau could only go so far before the water pressure just crushes him. And the Lord won't allow Esau to get to that. Let's go to Genesis chapter 7. Right, Genesis chapter 7 and verse 11. It's Genesis 7 and 11. And the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up. And what are the fountains of the great deep? The waters that's literally beneath the earth. And Esau, he even said it's mountains down there. It's caves in the earth, underneath the earth, in the waters. It's tunnels. You read about that in Jonah, the 2nd chapter. Let's go to that in Jonah chapter 2. Right? It's the book of Jonah, chapter 2. Right, Jonah chapter 2 and verse number 5. It says, Jonah 2 and 5, the waters compassed me about, even to the soul. The depth closed me round about. The weeds were wrapped about my head. Because Jonah was literally in the in the belly of the whale. Verse 6, I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth with her bars was about me forever. Yet thou hast brought up my life from corruption, O Lord my God. So when he was in the belly of the whale and he went underneath, Jonah said it was mountains down there, caves. Some things that Esau haven't discovered. Because Esau, he hasn't discovered everything that's in the sea. So, you know, it's really no telling what's really down there. You got new species down there that has never been explored. New things that has never been seen before. So, hey, man, that's deep. We can go back to Genesis, the first chapter. Right? Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 8. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 8. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. It says verse 9. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. Meaning what? That the earth, which is the land, and the waters be gathered to one place. And the Lord divided that. Just like he divided the waters above the firmament and underneath the earth, the Lord divided the dry land from the seas. It says verse 10, and God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 26, and verse number 10. So the earth and the seas actually have boundaries. Right? The oceans that you see, the rivers, they have boundaries that they cannot pass. That's why on the beach, if you go to the beach, you see the waters, they go up shore, but they come right back down. Now, if things wasn't in order, the Lord had the whole waters come upon the dry land. Now it's a so-called tsunami. Only the Lord can have that happen. But for the most part, the waters that you see come amongst the seas, and they come back down. Why? Because they have boundaries. Let's go to Job chapter 26 and verse 10 to prove that. All right, this is Job chapter 26 and verse number 10. It says, he hath compassed the waters with bounds until the day and night come to an end. And that's plain, man. The Lord has compassed the waters with a bound, meaning they're bound to whatever the Lord, however the Lord want to have them go to and fro. That's what the Lord has planned. Other than that, they have bounds. They have limits that they cannot pass. Verse 11, the pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his reproof. He divideth the sea with his power, and by his understanding he smiteth through the proud. See that? So the Lord divided the sea with his power, with his wisdom, his understanding. Not man's understanding. Because if it was up to man, the seas wouldn't have boundaries. Next thing you know, everything would just be out of order. But the Lord has bounds on the seas and the oceans. So we can go back to Genesis chapter 1. Right? Genesis chapter 1 and verse number 11. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed. It says, an herb yielding seed after its kind. So like it, Genesis 1 and 11. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding her fruit after its kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. So now the Lord is commanding the grass to appear. The herbs, verse 12, and the earth brought forth grass, an herb yielding seed after its kind. Now what does it mean by the herb yielding seed in its kind? The fruit with a seed in itself. That means what? The originally, when the Lord first created all of this, everything had a season. To the plants, the fruits, the vegetables, everything had a seed. If it didn't have a seed, that means it couldn't grow. You look at the you got something called seedless grapes. You got all types of GMO foods now. Back during the time of Adam, and when the earth was first created, everything had a seed. Everything was fresh, man. Literally. Everything was fresh, juicy. It could last you long periods of time. Adam probably ate an apple and he was filled for a week straight. That's how things were in the ancient world. But now, like I said, you got things you got GMO, everything now. Apples, GMO potatoes, GMO strawberries. So remember, everything has to have a seed in itself. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. All right? Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse number 13. All right, let's go to the book of Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse number 13. It's the book of Ezekiel chapter 4 and verse number 13. It reads, "And the Lord said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whether I would drive them." So the Lord said the Israelites would eat the bread, defiled bread amongst the Gentiles. Meaning what? Defiled food. It was already prophesied that in the land of our captivities, we'll have all of these so-called GMO foods. You got a damn GMO, you got GMO bread now. They genetically modify bread and they stick it with something, and now the bread is on steroids. If you look at the watermelons, in the ancient, let me see if I can pull this up. Watermelons in the 1950s. And when you look at some of these fruits, they not how they used to be. Hey, I think somebody told me that the watermelons in like the 1960s or 80s was that big, literally. Now the watermelons, they still kind of big, but hey, the watermelons used to be like that. Let me see if I could pull that up. In 19, let's just see. Let me see if I could pull this up. Watermelons in 1900s. All right, Slocky, bear with me. I'm trying to see if I could put this up. Watermelons. I went that bone. In the 1900s. Alright. Look at that. See that? That's how big the watermelons was in the ancient world. It's like in the 1900s, not the ancient world. See how big that is? Those are the real watermelons that are that big. Guess what? Not the watermelons, they not that big no more, man. They still big. But hey, see that? It gotta take 2 men to carry some watermelons. Let me get a precept real fast. In Numbers. Right? Let's go to the book of Numbers. Chapter 13. Right, this is the book of Numbers, chapter 13. And verse, I'm going to start at verse, Numbers 13 and verse 23. This is Numbers chapter 13 and verse 23. "And they came unto the brook of Eshcol, and cut down from thence a branch with 1 cluster of grapes." So these men, they cut down some grapes from a tree branch. Let's see how big these grapes were. Hey, grapes nowadays, they like this, man. They real small. Right? It says, "And they bear it between 2 upon the staff." So the grapes in the ancient world, It took 2 men to carry a cluster of grapes. Now you could kind of go get you could get some grapes from Jewel Osco, and you could walk out the store and have a nice day. No, in an ancient world, those fruits was way bigger. It took 2 men to carry a cluster of grapes upon a staff. So that just lets you know how defiled this earth is now. Everything is defiled. Everything is ruined. Everything is polluted. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 26. Right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 26. It's like that's not it. Isaiah chapter 25. It's like Isaiah chapter 24. And verse 5. Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 5. It says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. See that? So now this whole earth is defiled under the men and women that inhabit it. And it's chiefly talking about the so-called white man. And because we know it's none other but him. Hey, even Moab, you know, they kind of grow their crops, right? Ham don't really got crops, but hey, for the most part, these other nations, they kind of grow what they got to grow. Esau, he wants to make everything GMO. And he's sticking watermelons with shots. Now the watermelons are this big. When men in the 1900s had to carry watermelons like this. So let's go to 2nd Esdras, chapter 6. So this place is finished, man. That's why this place gotta go. This 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, and verse number 43. 2nd Esdras chapter 6 and 43. It says, for as soon as thy word went forth, the work was made. For immediately there was great and innumerable fruit, and many diverse pleasures of the taste and the flowers of unchangeable color. And when the Lord created the fruits and the grass and the herbs, man, you kind of imagine this. Like, you know how you see that greenish purplish color, or you see it on some kind of cars. That's how the Lord got certain fruits made. They just got a greenish purplish color to them, and you put it in the sun and they kind of change colors. The Lord got a fruit. He probably got a fruit like that somewhere in the world. It's so many fruits and things that haven't been discovered yet. God knows, the Most High only knows what's really out there. It says, for immediately there was a great and innumerable fruit, and many diverse pleasures for the taste, and flowers of unchangeable color, and odors of wonderful smell. And this was done the 3rd day. See that? So let's go back to Genesis chapter 1. Go back to Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1 and 13. And the evening and the morning were the 3rd day. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and for years. And that's why the Lord created the sun and the moon, for signs, days, years, for you to be able to tell time. Let's go back to 2nd Esdras, chapter 6. And like I said, 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, it links right up with Genesis, the 1st chapter, but just give more in detailed account. This 2nd Esdras, chapter 6, and verse number 45. 2nd Esdras 6 and 45. Upon the 4th day, thou commandest that the sun should shine, and the moon give her light, and the stars should be in order. And thou gavest them a charge to do service unto man that was to be made. And that's what the Lord did. He gave them a certain charge. People don't even know that the sun actually has a course. Esau says what? The sun, or the earth rather, is rotating thousands of miles around the sun. But that's not the case. The sun has a circuit. The sun actually revolves around the earth. Let's go to that in Ecclesiastes. Right? Let's get that in Ecclesiastes. It's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, and verse number 5. Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, and verse number 5. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where he arose. So the sun goes up and down, and the sun actually has a course that it has to follow. Why? Because it's a strict commandment by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Let's go to Baruch chapter 6 and verse number 60. Right? Baruch in the Apocrypha chapter 6 and verse number 60. Baruch chapter 6 and verse number 60. It says, for sun, moon, and stars being bright and sent to do their offices are obedient. And that's a mean precept. The Lord said the sun, moon, and the stars have specific offices that they has to fill. So everything is working on a clock to the Most High. Everything is on clockwork. The Lord has certain things set up that they have to fulfill. Just like man on the earth. Man has to fulfill their specific duties in their offices. And these ordinances, like the sun and the moon, they don't get slothful like man does. They don't just stop working or start slugging down and slowing down. No, they're obedient. We just read that in Baruch 6 and 60. But man, he's not right anymore. Because we fell from our first estate. So that just lets you know how the works of the Lord, they even obey the Most High's commandment. Let's go to 1 Esdras chapter 4. Right? 1 Esdras chapter 4 and verse number 34. O ye men, are not women strong? Great is the earth, high is the heaven. Swift is the sun in his course, for he compasseth the heavens round about, and fetcheth his course again to his own place in one day. So the sun, the moon, and the stars, they all have courses according to the Most High. Right? Let's go to the moon. Why was the moon created? It just said for signs and wonders. Let's go to Sirach, chapter 33. Right. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 33, and verse number 7. Sirach 33 and 7. It says, why doth one day excel another, when all the light of every day, the year, is of the sun? Right, meaning if the sun is out every day, why is one day, every day should be the same? Why is one day excel another? The Lord is going to tell you. By the knowledge of the Lord they were distinguished, and he altered season and feast. Some of them have he made high days and hallowed them, and some of them have he made ordinary days. The point I wanted, it says, he altered seasons and feasts. That's what you have the sun, the moon, and the stars for seasons, times, feasts. Hey, you could look at the moon and be able to tell when Yahushua is on his way via a blood moon. So the moon is for a sign, man. I'm just thinking, you look up at the moon and you say, oh yeah, the USA, they did go to the moon that one day. No, that's not the reason why you're supposed to look at the moon. You're supposed to look at the moon for a sign. And we have a whole feast day off the moon, literally. It's called the new moon. So the moon is for signs, feasts, and other things as well. Let's go to Sirach, chapter 43. Right? Sirach, chapter 43 and verse 6. Sirach 43 and verse 6. It says, he made the moon also to serve in her season, for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. See that? And that's plain. The moon is a sign of feast. So that's why these things were certain set up. But man still can't perceive it. Man still, he needs signs. You supposed to look at these works that the Most High has created and say, okay, that's a God out there. The Most High, he's real. Jake, no, he need the Most High to get off his throne and come down and sup with man. The Lord is not doing that. He never did it, and he never will do it. You have these things that the Most High has created. They show that the Most High exists, man. Let's get that in Romans, the first chapter. I said, man, he needs signs. You had the signs in front of your face. No mortal man could be able to create a sign. Literally. Right? Let's go to the book of Romans, chapter 1. This Romans chapter 1 and verse 20. It says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his internal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. I'm going to start at verse 19. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath shewed it unto them. And the Lord is showing you these things. The Lord is showing you that he exists. Why? Through the works. Because the works, they're able to declare that the Most High is true and real. But we go back to Genesis. Right? Hey, and King Solomon knew about that as well. Let's bring that out real fast. You got your so-called Albert Einstein. People think Albert Einstein is the smartest man to walk the earth. No, King Solomon, he knew about this. King Solomon, his IQ is off the charts. He will literally break an IQ machine. It's Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7. It's like it. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7. And verse number 17. Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 17. For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely to know how the world was made, and the operation of elements. So King Solomon, he knew about the periodic table before the periodic table came about, with the different atoms, right? The elements, like potassium, iron, ink. King Solomon, he knew about that from old. Verse 18, the beginning, end, and midst of the times, the alterations of the turning of the sun, and the change of seasons, the circuits of years, and the position of stars. So he knew about constellations. Orion, it's like Orion, Mazareth, what you read about in Job, the 38th chapter. At King Solomon, he knew about the stars, sun, and moon, and everything you need to know about it. So we can go back to Genesis chapter 1. Right? Genesis chapter 1 and verse number 17. Genesis 1 and 16. It says, and God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and a lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. See that? Verse 20, right? It's like it. Verse 20, it says, and God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that have life, and the fowl that may fly above the earth, and the open firmament of heaven. So you have the Lord bringing forth fish, birds. A lot of people don't know that birds actually were created out of the waters. And when you look at the x-ray of a bird and its shape and it's basically a skeleton, it has the same model after a fish. So birds actually came out of the water. That's what the God just said. Verse 21, and God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly, after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. See that? Let's go to 2 Ezra chapter 6. Right. Go to 2 Ezra chapter 6. It's the book of 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse number 47. 2 Ezra 6 and 47. Upon the fifth day thou saidst unto the seventh part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls, fishes, and so it came to pass. So the waters, it brought forth living creatures, fishes, fowls out of earth. Verse 49. Verse 48. For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of God, that all people might praise thy wondrous works. And even on that day, that's when Leviathan was created. When the fishes were created, the beasts, everything that was in the waters were created. Leviathan was made also. We finna read about that. It says, then thou ordained two living creatures, the one called Enoch and the other Leviathan, which is really behemoth, but in the Greek, it's translated to Enoch. But that's talking about behemoth. Verse 50. And did it separate the one from the other, for the seven parts, namely where the water was, together might not hold them both. See that? So the earth couldn't hold them both, so the Lord had to put one on land and one in the seas. And to Enoch, thou give his one part, which was dried up, the third day, that he might dwell in the same part, where and are in 1,000 hills. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the seventh part, namely moist, and has kept him to be devoured, of whom thou wilt and when. See that? So when the Lord created the beasts and the fishes and fowls out of the seas, Leviathan was also created as well. And you could read about Leviathan. We're not going to go, that's a whole nother breakdown, but you could read about him in Job, the 31st chapter. Right? So let's go back to Genesis. Right? Let's go back to Genesis chapter 1. Right? Let's go back to Genesis chapter 1 and verse number 21. Genesis 1 and 21. And God created great whales and every great living creature that moveth, which the water brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. Verse 24, and God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beasts of the earth after his kind, and it was so. Verse 25, and God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and God saw that it was good. Verse 26, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. See that? So on this 6th day, the Lord has created man and female, not just one person. The Most High just didn't create one person on the 6th day. When you read on, it says man and female created he him. But I'm going to read that again, Genesis 1 and 26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth. Let's go to Psalm chapter 115 and verse 16. So the Lord, before Adam, when man was first created, even during the time of the Adam, man had that dominion over the earth, the power over the beast, right? Over the fowls, the fishes. Now man has lost that completely. At one point in time, you could be able to tell what a pit bull, you could literally be able to tell a lion what to do. Go this way, go that way. And the lion wouldn't try to devour you. Why? Because all animals and flesh had fear of man. The Lord put that in the animals. Hey, and some animals even still got that to this day, like squirrels. If you approach a squirrel will run away. That's that fear of man. It's in the squirrel. What else you got? Raccoons. They'll run away, man. Now everything is messed up. Jake, he running down the street from a Rottweiler or a German Shepherd. He getting chased by a pit bull now. But in the ancient world, that wasn't happening. No, those creatures, they would know what's up with man. Well, let's go to Psalm chapter 115. You got Eve scared of mice now, and rats, and spiders, right? And Eve scared of the damn hot water in the bathtub. So, man is all corrupt now. It could be a spider, a cockroach in a room, and Eve said, oh, kill it. And it could be this small. Adam wasn't having that, man. Adam, he had that dominion. He had that boldness about him. Hey, those animals, they knew what was up. Like I said, now all things is messed up now. And that's how you got to move. Don't be scared of the animals. The animals, they're supposed to be a fear and scared of you. But this is Psalm chapter 115. Right, Psalm chapter 115 and verse number 16. It says what? Even the heavens are the Lord's, but the earth have he given to the children of men. That's what the Lord did. The Lord gave the dominion. Right, Salakia. So, right, the Lord gave the dominion for man to rule the earth. Let's go to Sirach chapter 17. Right. Sirach chapter 17 and verse 1. It says, therefore, by the like where they're punished. So like that's when I'm silent. Go to Sirach chapter 17 and verse 1. It says what? The Lord created man of the earth and turned him into it again. He gave them few days in a short time, and power also over the things therein. So man, at one point in time, he had power over everything that was in the earth. He endured them with strength by himself, and made them according to his image, and put the fear of man upon all flesh, and gave dominion over beasts and fowls. So the Lord put that fear upon all flesh of man. He put it upon the animals. Like I said, now, Eve, she's scared of possums now. She's scared of snakes, damn mice. And like I said, some animals, they still got that fear in them. That's why when you walk towards a mice not gonna say what's up. It's good. What you trying to do? No, a mice gonna run away. Why? Because the Lord put that fear in those animals to fear man. All right, let's go back to Genesis chapter 1. Right, Genesis chapter 1 and verse number 27. So God created man in his own image, and in the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. That's how you know that it wasn't just Adam and Eve on the earth. It just said he created male and female. Eve didn't come about to Genesis the second chapter, and this is Genesis the first chapter. So everybody, the Lord created man and woman, and God blessed them. Let's get a precept on that real fast. Let's go to Genesis chapter 5 and verse 2. Genesis chapter 5 and verse 2. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. So man and female at one point in time, they were called Adam. Everybody was called Adam, or also known as the Adamites. But going back to Genesis 1 and 28, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it. Now the Lord said, be fruitful and multiply. And us, as the Israelites, we got to get out of this Western mindset of not having kids. Right? I used to be like that. And I'm still kind of am. I used to say, nah, I'm never having kids, bro. You tripping. Right? Jake say you having kids. You know, I might see somebody else have kids. I'm like, man, I ain't never having kids. Hey, the Lord just said, be fruitful and multiply. Ever since we came, we wasn't thinking like that in the ancient world. King David, he wasn't saying, nah, bro, I ain't having kids. She tripping, man. Kids, they too bad. King David, he was being fruitful and multiplying upon the earth. King Solomon, Adam. So it's actually a commandment to be fruitful and multiply. Now you got abortion clinics now. If Eve don't want to be fruitful and multiply, she want to give the baby to an abortion. God gave us a strict commandment to be fruitful and multiply. So we got to get out of this westernized mindset and get back to the laws of the Most High. It says, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Verse 29, and God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon all face of the earth, and every tree, and the fruit, which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. So the Lord said he gave us every fruit, herb, seed, right? So like a tree, it's all for meat. What is that saying? That means no. You know what that means. For all you jakes that's out there, you know who you are, and you women that want to get so-called high. The Lord said you're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be for meat. You're supposed to consume it if you sincerely need it. That's right, the 38th chapter. Not abusing and say, yeah, I guess I know some brothers, they say, yeah, Mosai, he gave us every herb, every tree. I'm finna go light me up one right now. Hold on, brother. It's not what the Lord is saying. It's saying it should be consumed as meat, as you would eat it, if you sincerely need it. By reading on verse 30, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, where there is life, I have given every green herb for meat, and it was so. And God saw everything that he created, he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning was the sixth day. Right? And that's Genesis, the first chapter. So that's Genesis, the first chapter breakdown, going into how things was really created, and we breaking it down through the precepts. So Lord willing, this video was edifying. Lord most high willing, I could do a Genesis 2, 3 breakdown, 4, and so forth, so on, through the Spirit. So Lord willing, this video was edifying. I just want to give all honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, Stay girded. Every day is a fight. And you got to fight until the perfect day. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.